Welcome back. In this tutorial, we're going to continue to polish the hand, make it look a little bit smoother, and after that, start working on the leg. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Open your scene, so File, Open Scene, and we are calling this one Robot Arm. Okay, open, and since my scene is already open, I don't have to press open. So this is the hand that we worked on in the last tutorial. Let's press F. And we need to start smoothing some areas out. So what we want to do is let's look at it from the front view. Okay, and we are going to press 4. Let's look at it in X-ray, and let's go ahead and take a few vertices. Okay, if your vertices look like they're red, it's because you accidentally press B on the keyboard. So make sure you press B to get rid of the yellow. Okay, so we'll just select a few clusters here. Let's grab these vertices and move them over. And we're just trying to align it with the outline of the image. So sometimes you'll see me go from one side to the other, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'll just go clockwise or counterclockwise, just depending where I begin. Okay, and that looks good. That looks good. Now this outside vertex, if we follow it around, it starts to get a little bit tight in this region here. So if that happens to you, then just move it out so that it kind of like matches the same shape and angle as this cluster. Okay, and if I look up, I can see that there's a vertex right there that I'll just move out. And then that one looks like it belongs. Okay. So we're just taking these vertices, moving them around so that it matches the image. Okay. Now the next step that we want to do is we want to add some what we call edge loops around this part of the finger. Okay, so we're going to add 3, and we want to add 3 more here, and then 3 more down in this section. Okay, so let's get started. We'll press 5, and then we'll go to shading, X-ray, so we could see inside. Okay, so let's click on the Mesh Tools, Insert Edgeloop Tool option box. Okay, everything is set to the default. By clicking on the Reset tool, we'll close this. And let's click on this angle vertical line, this angled line, by left mouse click and hold. And I'll put it close to that knuckle there. And then I'll press R. So you should press R. Or just double click on this little edge so it goes all the way around. Let's scale it down, press W and move it right here. Now let's click on this little icon here, which is our Insert Edgeloop tool. We'll click it right there, and then we'll press R. We'll scale it down, press W and move it up right there. So we're just defining the fingers a little bit more. Let's go back to the Insert Edgeloop Tool button, click here, we'll press R immediately, we'll scale it down, and we'll press W and then move it up right there. Okay, now we'll click on it again and we'll add one here. Let's add one more right next to it, right in the middle of the knuckle, and then another one right about here, and then we'll add one down there, one right here, and then one more right there. Okay, now that we have that, we're going to press W. We will right mouse click and hold, click on the word face, and let's zoom in a little bit closer. let's click on this face here, hold shift and click on that one there. Let's hold shift, click on that tiny one there, double click on this one here, and then we'll click on that one here, double click that one, and now we will press Control, press E, and let's click on this blue arrow and push it to the left. Alright, now we can right mouse click and hold, object mode, and there's our little robot fingers. If we press 3, got this little joint right there in the finger. You can press 1. Okay, we probably should add one more right in here. So let's go back to Mesh Tools, insert Edge Loop, and add one more right there, another edge loop right here, and one more right there. So we repeat the same exact step. So we press W, we will right mouse click and hold, go to face, click on that face, hold shift, double click that one, click on that face there, double click that one, this one here, double click that one. Okay, so now we'll press Control E, and this time we're going to jump over into our perspective view. So press spacebar, and we're going to look at this blue arrow, left mouse click, and drag it to the right. Okay, maybe not so much there, just a little bit. Okay, so we will right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, and I think these fingers are just a little bit too fat. So let's, in our perspective mode, let's press spacebar. We'll zoom out a little bit. Let's right mouse click and hold, go to face. Let's highlight all of these fingers. Let's press R on the keyboard, and let's scale it this way. Let's do the same thing with that finger. Let's scale it down this way. And let's take those fingers and just orbit around and select that scale, scale it down. And if we wanted to, just kind of get this nice angle, left mouse click and drag to select all of those faces. And then we can press E on the keyboard and maybe just rotate it a little bit. So click on this red arrow, it's going to turn yellow, and turn it that way. Okay, and then let's select these faces here. Now this time we're going to move our manipulator tool by holding D, left mouse click and drag. Let's move this up, and then we'll rotate it just a little bit. Okay. Alright. Now let's work on the thumb. But I guess while we're still in face mode, let's try to make this area look a little bit smoother. And one way of doing that is by thinking about giving him a little bit of a palm. So what we want to do is select a fair number of faces. So in this case, I'm selecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then let's press W. Now my move tool is down here, so let's double click on the move tool and click on the pivot reset. And we can close this. So what we want to do is move this inside like that. Move the palm inside. Okay. And then we can select like an edge here, hold shift, and then the one across from it, the same ones, and then push those guys in So now when we right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, and we press 3, it starts to round off a little bit. Okay, and that could be said of the same thing with doing the top of the hand here. So let's click on that hand, press 1. Let's go right mouse click and hold, go to face, and let's select the faces that are right in the middle of this middle finger there. So 1, 2, and let's go to the left 2 faces, and then the right 2 faces. And if you guess, we're just going to move these ones forward. Okay, so it looks like it's very flat here. But the next thing that we'll do is right mouse click and hold, go to edge, click on this edge, hold shift, select that one. This edge, hold shift, select that one, and let's move it forward like this till we start to see this line right here kind of become a little bit more curved. And that's it. So right mouse click and hold, object mode. And let's start working on the thumb. So let's press spacebar. Let's go back into our front view. And we want to do the same exact thing that we did with the other fingers. So let's go to Mesh Tools, insert Edgeloop Tool. Let's click right here on this line and drag it up so it's closer to the thumb. And we'll press W, which is a move tool. Now we're still in edge mode, so right mouse click and hold, edge mode. And we'll double click on this line that we just put here, the insert edge loop. Now we'll press R, scale it down, press W and move it closer. And then we'll click on this tool, which is the scale tool, the insert edge loop, and we'll click one right about here. Let's drag it down. And let's add one more right here. And then we'll press W, right mouse click and hold, go to vertex, and let's make this thumb a little bit wider. Okay. This is kind of funky shape. Alright, now we'll right mouse click and hold, go to face. We'll click on that face, hold shift, left mouse click, double click on this face. And now we'll press Control E, and we'll click on the blue arrow and then bring it in like that. And we can maybe even click on that red square. I think that looks fine. So we have just finished creating the hand. So we'll right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, and then let's turn off the X-ray. So click on shading, X-ray. And now when we press 3, here's what we get. Now it seems to be connected, so what we can do is let's press 1. And starting off, I guess at this face here, we can delete. So let's go to face. Let's highlight that little face there and delete. Highlight these guys here, press delete. And then now we'll right mouse click and hold, go to vertex. Let's click on that vertex there, press W and move it up so that it connects. And select these guys, move it up so that it connects there. And the same thing here, just so that it touches the line right above it. And take that little corner there. Now we could take this entire row of vertices, press R and scale them flat. We will right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, and jump back into our perspective by just pressing spacebar. Hover over the perspective and press spacebar one more time. And we can scale the hand down just a little bit. So let's press R, scale it down like this. Press W and move it over to get it to align. And now when we press 3, there we go. So you can mess around with a little bit more of the faces on the hand to make it feel a little bit more round. There are other little tips and tricks that we could do, but just for the sake of this being a beginner tutorial, we won't go into a lot of detail about how to do that part. So we'll just keep moving forward, and we're actually going to finish this tutorial by working on the leg. Now, I like to use similar parts, and what I mean by that is this part of the arm looks very similar to that part of the leg. So let's hold Control and duplicate this. Hold Control, press D on your keyboard. We'll move this down. We'll move it to the right, and let's jump over into your perspective. I'm sorry, our front view. So let's press Spacebar. Let's get these guys to align, and look at that. It's almost a perfect match. Okay. The next part that we want to do is right mouse click and hold, go to face, and let's highlight all of these faces here and press delete. Okay, so now we will right mouse click and hold, go to edge. Let's double click this bottom edge here and just move it down a little bit. Let's hold shift and bring it down right there at the corner. And now we're going to press Control E on your keyboard, and we want to move this faint yellow line, orange line to the edge of this yellow line where the yellow line meets the red line. So we do that by pressing R, scaling it, and you can see it start to grow a little bit. And then we'll press Control E, and we'll bring this straight down just a little bit right there. And then we'll press W, which is a move tool. We'll zoom out just a little bit. And it starts to curve here, so I'm actually going to press R with that edge selected. And again, if you accidentally select something else and you're just like, oh my goodness, why is it doing that? All you have to do is right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, just kind of reset everything, reset yourself, and then right mouse click and hold, go to edge, double click on that bottom edge, and let's press R to scale it a little bit wider. So we're going to be pressing R and pressing W a lot. Okay, so hold shift, bring this down. I'll zoom out so you can see how far I've gone. Probably not that far. Let's move it over to the right. Press R. And because his feet are at an angle, I think it's safe to assume that his foot, his shin, this part of the leg in profile is going to look maybe something like this. So it's going to maybe be straight here, and then there's the foot like this. That's a foot, and I think that the back of his leg curves like that. So I think that's how the back of the leg curves. So what we're going to do is we're going to not rotate or scale this leg up like we did before. So let's click on it, right mouse click and hold. Let's go back to edge, double click this edge, and let's kind of move it back into the center. But we will press R and scale it a little bit wider this way. Press W, hold shift, bring it straight down. Press R, scale it a little bit wider that way. He has big calves. Press W, hold shift, bring it down. Press R, scale it down a little bit. Press W, hold shift, scale it down. Actually, bring it down. Press R and scale it down this way. Okay, so we are going to double click on the first extrude, not this first extrude, but this one. Okay, press spacebar, and then let's look at it from the side view. Actually, let's look at it from the perspective. All right, so let's press spacebar, and we want to scale the edges back. So let's hold shift, double click this edge, hold shift, double click that edge, hold shift and double click this edge, and we're going to scale it wide like this. Press W and move it back that way. Okay, so we're trying to get like a straight line. Let's double click this guy, press R and scale it this way. Press W and let's try to get a straight blue line in the front. So what we're attempting to do is to create this part and make it look curved. So double click this, we'll press R, scale down just a little bit, press W, move it forward, and that's about fine to me. So in the front we have it being round, right, like oval-esque, and then on the side it kind of is round as well. So that's going to conclude the leg tutorial. All right, so let's go back into object mode, and we can move this guy back just a little bit so it's in the center of his body, and then the arm is fine, just a little bit in front of the leg. And before we wrap this up, let's go ahead and save this. So let's go to File, Save Scene As, and I'm just simply going to click on the file I had before, so robot arm, and right after arm, let's hold shift underscore and type in, actually let's get rid of arm, robot arm, and type in robot leg 01. And in the next tutorial, we are going to start working on the robot's foot. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.